evening, Comedy Zoo. Please welcome to the stage, Jefferson Bond.
Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and supporting me in here. For those of you who know what I do, it really means a lot that you'd all be here. And for those of you that have been dragged along and don't know who I am, that's okay. As you will hear from the next hour, I don't know who I am either. But I don't want you all to panic, okay? Because you're in good hands. Because recently, in a Danish newspaper article, they wrote about me and said that I am one of the top 5 best English-speaking comedians in Denmark. Yeah. Which is weird because I think there's only 3 of us. So, and it's not exactly a big flex, is it, to be like, yeah, one of the best English-speaking comedians in Denmark. It's kind of like being like, yeah, I have the nicest house in Nestville. You know, it's nice. It's just not something really to brag about. But I'll introduce myself a little bit properly for those of you who don't know who I am. Hello, my name is Jefferson. I am half Irish, half English. So that means there's one half of me that just fucking hates myself. But then there's this other half of me that thinks I'm better than everyone else for no reason at all. I'll let you figure out which one you think is which. I was actually raised in Ireland until I was 4, and then I moved, which horrified my Irish grandfather. Because when I left Ireland, I had a lovely little Irish accent, don't you know? I sounded like a tiny little flute. Yeah. And then I moved, and I started to sound more and more colonizer-y. And the only way to describe how horrifying it was from my Irish grandfather's perspective was, do you know in zombie films? Do you know when someone gets bit and they slowly start to turn? And they're like, no, it's just a scratch, I promise, I'm fine. Until eventually I saw my grandfather a year later and I was like, oh, hello, grandfather. And he was like, okay, we're gonna have to put him down, you know. And then my mom jumps in and she's like, come on, Dad, this is your grandson, this is Jefferson. Ah, you shouldn't have named him, now you're attached. Because my grandfather was a proper manly man, like a real man's man, you know. And to give you an idea of Irish parenting, one time I hadn't seen him in years, and I went to go give him a hug, and he went, no. Men shake hands. And I was like, cool, I'm 7. Like, I think if I told him now that as a 31-year-old man that I moisturize my face, he would just walk into the Irish Sea. Which is ironic, because it would do wonders for his skin, so... But looking up to him, I used to look up to him all the time. He was like, you know, I wanted to be like my grandfather. I wanted to be a man, you know. I wanted to command respect. I wanted to be tough. But I wanted to be the sensitive little delicate boy that I am as well. You know? Like, I want to be like the kind of man that goes out to a forest and I chop down a tree, yeah? But then I'm sensitive and I come home and I carve it into the emotion I was feeling that day. You know, like, oh, it's a squirrel. In a commemoration of the squirrel's house I just destroyed. But I think like most men, I have an over-exaggerated sense of my toughness, of my manliness, you know, like being a tough guy. Like, if you speak to a man after 2 beers, he's like, yeah, I could probably fight a bear. It's like, fight a bear? You think you can fight a bear? How are you going to fight a bear when you can barely open up? Just turned into a poetry slam just for a second there. But I'm a victim of this too. I'm a victim of this thinking too. Like the other day I was watching one of the Die Hard movies, and Bruce Willis's character in the movie, he pulls out his gun, right, and he shoots himself through his own shoulder to kill the main bad guy. And I watched that and unironically thought, yeah, I probably would have done that. Completely forgetting that just a few days earlier, I bit the inside of my cheek, and it ruined my week. I was so upset. I was so sad. But times have changed, man. Times have changed since my grandfather's time. Like, the idea of manliness has changed, which I think is really great. For example, men can hug now. That's great. Grandfathers can even hug their grandchildren if they feel like it. But if you notice, when men hug, there is still always the implicit threat of violence. Like, if you watch men hug, like I do often, every time men hug, you watch them, and every time they'll go... Like, they always have to hate each other just to be like, never safe. Like, you know, don't let your guard down around me. And I don't know why we do that. Right, I do know why we do that. What we're doing is letting the other man that the hug has gone on too long and to let go, which is hilarious that men can be like, yeah, I can fight a bear, but I can't be in a hug for more than a second. Like, if you really think about what it is, the tap out, we're like tapping out from emotional vulnerability. We're just like, no, I feel too loved. And sadly, if you really get down to the core of it, it's still this toxic masculinity. If you really get down to the core of it, every time we slap the people, what we're really doing is we're just going, not gay. Like, that's what we're doing. And that's not right, you know. We talk about our problems now, that's really good. Not just men, but women as well. It's got more socially acceptable to talk about your problems. I think that's great. You know, but I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I still have to talk about my problems and cloak it in a sense of postmodernist irony. So, like, I will say how I feel when someone asks me how I'm doing, but I will put on a silly voice. Like, they'll be like, hey, Jeff, are you okay? You're looking really stressed. And I'll go, well... going through a bit of a tough time right now! And I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I do that. That's why I think actually the best mental health app that you can download on your phone nowadays isn't something like BetterHelp or any meditation app. It's an auto-tune app. So that way you can really have honest conversations without worrying about the silly voice. So next time someone goes, Jeff, what are you afraid of? I can be like,
I am scared that I won't achieve everything I want to achieve.
No, it's a good thing as well. It's a good thing, you know. We can probably have real conversations as well. I can start to ask people how they're really doing. Like, you, sir, if I was to ask you, like, what's your biggest fear at the moment? You'd probably go...
Heights.
Immigrants.
It's not heights. Well, if you don't like immigrants, you're not going to like the rest of the story. Because I am an immigrant. When we moved from Ireland, we moved to the northwest of England, quite a rough area in the northwest of England. And I know I sound very posh, but where I grew up was very rough. Like, I know I sound very Downton Abbey, but where I grew up was very downtown stabby. I grew up just outside of Liverpool, which was quite a culture shock for me to go from the Irish accent to the Liverpool accent. Because if the Irish accent is a tiny little flute, then the Liverpool accent is a kazoo. But it gets a lot of abuse back home in the UK, the Liverpool accent. But I think it's a very musical accent. And I mean that literally, because you guys might not know this, but before any Liverpudlian starts any conversation, they have to hit a perfect F sharp. It's true. If you ever watch like Steven Gerrard or Jamie Carragher on Sky Sports or any sports thing, what you don't see is they pull out a little tuning fork, they go, actually, mate, we're going to win the league this year. And that's how they start every single conversation. Yeah. It's a mixture between tinnitus and a mosquito. It's very important to our culture. No, but I didn't really fit in school. I went to quite a rough, violent school. The only positive thing about my high school were the chlamydia tests. It was the kind of school where the young teenage girls, they hadn't figured out makeup yet. So they would just, like, cake their face in a layer of foundation, you know? Like, so much foundation you could build the Empire State Building on their face, right? But they hadn't blended it into their neck. Yeah, so they just look like depressed Oompa Loompas photoshopped into their own lives. And, like, because they're young British girls as well, they're so pale, they're see-through because they haven't seen the sun, okay? But they're permanently stained orange, okay? So they're kind of like, do you know when you keep lasagna or spaghetti in a Tupperware container? If you draw a face on that, that's kind of what they look like. 4 claps there, that's great. No, like, I didn't really fit in. I didn't really fit in school. We'd have like a lot of these motivational posters in our school as well. I don't know if you had like, it'd be like a picture of a whale jumping out of the water. And I remember one of them was saying, don't be afraid of standing out. Be afraid of fitting in. And I was like, I'll do you one better. I'll just be afraid. I'll just be afraid. Because standing out is great. It's wonderful. I think it's fantastic, to stand out. But as a teenager, you want to blend in like foundation in a neck. You want to, you know what I mean? You want to blend into the background. Like, let's put it this way. Being the only goat on the farm, winner. Being the only goat in Jurassic Park, dinner. You don't want that. Like my first day of high school, I remember a teacher went, all right, class, what we're going to do is we're all going to say our name and one thing we like to do. And the boy to my left, his name was Matthew, went, hi, my name's Matthew, and I like football. Good start. And I was next in the register, and I went, hello, my name's Jefferson, and I genuinely said this, and I like to make people laugh. That's what I said. Thank you. Wait until the end of this story. And then the boy to my right, his name was Charlie. He went, hello, my name's Charlie, and I like football. And every single boy went, football, 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 football. And I felt their eyes lock onto the back of mine. And let's put it this way. If my first day of school was me auditioning for bullied Star Wars virgin number 9, I nailed it, baby. I nailed it. Like, I would have walked into that audition and be like, hi, my name's Jefferson, and I'm here. And they'd be like, stop, 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 stop. You had us at Jefferson. And I remember standing up and going, haha, I perceive no consequences to these actions. How could anyone be upset at what I just said? And I walked out like that, and these 4 boys came up to me, and they cornered me. And one of them was called a Jack, right? And he had really beady but puffy eyelids, He kind of looked like a bull terrier or someone that was allergic to life. And he comes over to me, and he goes, all right, gay boy. 2005. All right, gay boy, go on, make us laugh. And I went, what? And I'll never forget this. He punched me in the testicles. And thus began my difficult career in comedy. But before you feel too bad for me, they punched me and then they all laughed. So who was the real loser? Not this guy. I can see a few of you pulled back there. But don't feel too bad. I didn't realize that my high school experiences weren't universal. Like I didn't realize that. And I only started to realize like they were different when I moved here. And like I trade high school story with my Danish friends. And we'd all be like having a few drinks or we would trade stories. And they'd be like, oh dude, it was so fucking crazy. One time, what we did is we turned around all of the tables and chairs. So when the teacher came in, we were facing the wrong way. It was so fucking crazy. And it was like, oh, dude, you think that's crazy? This is so fucking crazy. One time, my friend, he got a water bottle and he poured water on everybody's chairs. So when they sat down, they got a wet bum. It was so fucking crazy. And I was like, oh, dude, that's so fucking crazy. One time in the middle of a maths exam, a kid in front of me stood up. And you know those things you use to draw a compass with? Yeah, he stabbed someone 3 times in the neck. Because maths is hard. Come on, we've all been in that situation where we've encountered a maths problem so difficult we've attempted first-degree murder, poetically with a compass, and by a child with more problems than the maths test combined. And because of the underfunded British education system, we then had to calculate the radius of the blood spray. It just became part of the exam. So I didn't quite fit in. Even now, as an adult, I sometimes get bullied by English people. Like, even now, I remember a few years ago, I was very, very happy. I was on Danish telly. Thank you so much. Notice I didn't tell you what it was for. 6 murders. No. It was for doing this. It was showing the hee-hee and the ha-ha and the microphone. And I was very proud of what I did, and I wanted to show everyone back home what I did. So I said, like, hey, look at me, look what I did. And I got a message from one of the boys I used to go to high school with. And he went, oh, what? So now you think you're famous? It was in Denmark, it doesn't count. I was like, well, first off, no one asked you, Casper. And I realized at that moment why his parents named him Casper. Because it was clearly after Casper the Friendly Ghost, wasn't it? Because they also wish he died as a child. Yeah. Few people called Casper do not like that joke. But it got me thinking, man. It's like, I don't want to be famous. I really don't want to be famous. That sounds exhausting. The kind of level of fame that I want to have is I want to be as famous as the guy who plays the flute outside Copenhagen City Hall. Yeah. Some of you are like, oh, I know him. Some of you are like, who the fuck is that? And that is the perfect level of fame for me. I want people like, if you're not from Copenhagen, you won't know who he is. For those of you who don't know who he is, and people who do, there's a guy outside Copenhagen City Hall that plays the flute, isn't there? Yeah. Well, he doesn't really play the flute. What he does is he yells into a flute for 6 hours a day. And he is my favorite person in Denmark. It goes my fiance, then him by a big margin. I love this guy. He's the best. Some of you thinking, oh, Jeff, what kind of songs does he play? Oh, he's so good, he doesn't need to play songs. Yeah. He's so good, he doesn't need to play songs. Imagine being that good at anything. That would be like if I came on stage this evening and I was like, hi guys, so I was walking down the street the other day. Finish my punchline. That's how good he is. That's how good he is. Okay, all right, I can see in some of your faces you're not convinced. But don't worry, I'll give you one of his hits. I will give you one of his bangers. Okay. 6 out of that, no breaks. No breaths. It's like he's getting important information from the front lines in 1945. It's incredible. Oh, Jeff, he's just a musical legend. No, he's also a fashion icon. He is, because depending on the day, he'll wear different animal hats. And it's amazing to wake up, like, so sometimes he'll wear an elephant hat, and sometimes he'll wear a giraffe hat, and sometimes he'll wear a tiger hat, but only if he's feeling fierce. That's Fierce Fridays. And I have a theory about him, that he is an alien, right? And underneath his hat is an antenna. And the doot-doots are just binary to the mothership. And he's just going, boo, 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 boo. The humans suspect nothing. Boo, 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 boo. They keep giving me gold circles. Boo, 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 boo. It's money, the gold circles. And I got really worried. Because I used to see him every day on the way to work. Like, I'd see him every day on the way to work, and I'd walk past him, and I'd give him 20 krona, and be like, here's for flute lessons, keep on believing. And I'd walk past him like that. And then for a really long time, I didn't see him, and I was really worried about him. And then a few weeks go by, and then I got a message from a comedian friend of mine in Amsterdam. And he said, hey, Jeff, is this that flute guy that you're always talking about? And I am always talking about him. And then he sends me a video. And there in that video, in the middle of Amsterdam City Square, he's gone on fucking tour. He's doing better than me. He's way too famous for me now. He's taken all the 20 kronas I've given him over the year. He's funded his own European tour. I can't reach that level of fame now. My dream is to open for him, you know? He just turns up in Krakow like, come on, Krakow, you know the words. Yeah, you love it. You love it. But as you can hear from some of the stories I've told you about England, I don't really have a strong connection with being English. I am half English, but I don't have a strong connection with being English. But I do have English qualities. That I have to fight every day, like the zombie virus. Like, I have to fight them. For example, English people like 3 things, which is complaining, queuing, and complaining about queuing. Those are the three things we like to do. To prove this point, one time I was on a flight, and the flight attendant asked all the passengers and went, ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask you not to eat any peanuts or any nuts on this flight, as one of our passengers has a deathly peanut allergy and could die. And the guy in the row behind me, I heard him go, oh, for fuck's sake. What are you complaining about? It's like, oh, this is the only time I get to eat cashews. They only taste good at 50,000 feet. I'm convinced that flight attendant could have said anything. She could have come out and was like, all right, we kindly ask you not to study 12th century Chinese political movements. Oh, for fuck's sake! I wanted to study the Treaty of Zhaoxing and how it affected the Song Dynasty north of the Huang River. This is bullshit. But the only time I've ever really felt like English and patriotic and like British and all that kind of stuff was actually when Queen Elizabeth died. Not because she died, not because of that, but because of how British people reacted to her death. Because when she died, we did the most British thing possible. And what we did is we made a 10-mile long queue. You guys, there's nothing more British than that. Besides turning into one giant racist teabag. There's nothing more British than that. Guys, this queue was amazing. I don't know if you saw it. It was 250,000 people long, all right? It was 10 miles long. There was a queue to get in the main queue. That's queueception. This queue was so Q, it was nearly R. It wasn't P, it wasn't Q, it was nearly R. That's how Q this queue was. There was also, which I thought was wonderful, there was also a queue for differently abled people who couldn't stand in the main queue for that long, which I thought was really nice. But I didn't know that when I was watching the news. So I remember the news commentators like, and here we have another young man paying his respect to Her Majesty. And this guy in a wheelchair left. And I went, whoa, that 10-mile queue is no joke. He's been in it so long he's lost the use of his legs. What a patriot. Because I, like most people, just assumed Queen Elizabeth would live forever. Like, I thought she was genuinely powered by our national anthem. Like, it'd explain a lot about the national... That would explain why it's so dreary, because it sucks the soul out. You're like, God save our gracious queen. And, like, I thought it just went in the air like voodoo, and then she channeled it into Buckingham Palace and sat on the throne like... I thought that's how she lived. But it got me thinking about what people did when great leaders died and the way they commemorated them, you know. So, for example, in India, they built the Taj Mahal. In America, they built the Washington, D.C. Monument. And in Britain, we made a 10-mile long queue. And I was like, is there a better way we could have paid respects to the Queen? And I was like, yes, we could have. What we could have done with all 250,000 of those people is we could have built the biggest human pyramid ever. Guys, it would have been amazing. 250,000 people. It would have been 90 people by 90 people by 90 people. I've done the math on this. And don't worry, this time no one was stabbed in the neck. So it would have been 90 people by 90 people by 90 people. It would have been 157 meters tall, right? It would have been taller than the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. And that could have been another thing the Queen took away from Africa. Boom! Nothing more British than that. Nothing more British than that. But, you know, I love living here. I love living here. I love living in Denmark. For the first time in my life, I feel safe. Like you should in your home. You should feel safe wherever you go. Like here in Denmark, you don't even have trash talk here. Instead of trash talk, you have recycled constructive criticism. So instead of your shit, it's, hey, maybe this is not the best environment for your jokes. And that's great. Yeah. But like I even have a favorite crime now. I've witnessed my favorite crime I've ever seen. It was really good. It was my favorite crime. I witnessed it during studentenkursel. Now, who here, just make some noise, doesn't know what studentenkursel is? Make some noise? Great, okay, this is awesome. All right, awesome. I love explaining to people what this is. And Danes, help me out if I get it wrong. Right, okay, so basically what happens when children between 18 and 19 years old, okay, when they're about to go on to higher education, like university and those kind of things, what they do is they put a little sailor hat on, right? They push each other onto heavy industrial farming equipment, right? And they drive around town like some kind of upper-class Mad Max. Yeah? And you might be thinking, oh, children, like that's quite dangerous on the roads and stuff, sober. No, these are the drunkest children you've ever seen before in your life. A recent study has actually shown that Danish teenagers drink the most out of any other teenage group in Denmark. Yeah, man. And like the government, like, what does that mean? It means we're cool. It means we're cool. But they've been asking questions like, why? But how? Is it because we give them beer when they're 15? It's like, no, I don't think it is. I think it's Danish children have been brainwashed since birth, like with the toys that they play with. I do, because if you look at that little Lego man's hand, it's just perfectly shaped for a pint, isn't it? Two if he's having a pie, so that's pretty good. Okay. I wasn't even going to tell this, but I'll tell this story. Okay, so for my 30th birthday, I threw my own studenterkursel. Yeah, it was, guys, I get it. It was the best time I've ever had in my life. I'm throwing a little parade for myself. It was so good. It was me and my friends who were in their 30s and 40s, and we were driving around at the same time that the students were driving around. And it was the most fun I've had. Like, I remember, like, because people drive around and the kids would drive around and they go beep, beep, and people turn around and go, yay! And then we drive around and we go beep, beep, they'd go, hey, whoa! Those kids look fucking terrible. They're really taking global warming hard, Jesus. No, right. Favorite crime. Thank you for reminding me. My favorite crime. My favorite crime that I ever witnessed was during Studenterkursel, and I was on the S train. Okay, and I sat down on the S train, and there was a group of young women in front of me with their sailor hats on, and then one of them pulled out their Sunhills cord, their health card, yeah, and did a line of cocaine off of it. And I was like, that's the most Danish privileged shit that I've ever seen before in my life. Yeah. To do a Class A drug off of your free healthcare system? Just be like, they'll fix it. Woo! Amazing. But no, I feel very safe living here. I do. I feel very safe living here. The only time I've ever felt threatened, I've only felt threatened twice. The first time I felt threatened was when I first moved here, and I used the check-in system for the first time on the transportation system. Yeah, it doesn't need to be that way, does it? You know, for those, like, you know, it's such an aggressive system. Like you, sir, you have glasses. You probably have a job. What's your name, buddy? Ben. Nice to meet you, Ben. All right. Ben, what's your job? You're a game artist. I spoke too soon. No, I'm joking, Ben. I love you, Ben. Right, Ben. So when you get your travel card out, you probably go to check in on the underground, and it'll go like, ding, like, welcome on board, Ben. You're an artist. But Ben, like with my job, what I'll do is I'll get my travel card out, and it'll go. So that everybody on the bus knows that I can't afford the bus. It's so aggressive. The second time I've ever felt threatened was when I was walking down Nürburgring. So I was walking down Nürburgring, and I was walking down the street, and coming on the other way of the street were a bunch of Danish gangsters, like a bunch of Danish buller. Danish gangsters, which I love. I think they're great because they all dress the same. Like, they all have a uniform, which I think is really cool. Like, all the Danish gangsters dress the same. They'll have like a black tracksuit and a black cap, and they'll wear a little fanny pack. Wear a little fanny pack. You're like, oh, what you got in the fanny pack, buddy? Crime? Like, they all look like failed Pokemon trainers. Like, it's really cool. So I'm walking down the street, and there's a group of them, and they've got like a sound box, and they're like listening to like hardcore like gangster rap, and like, you know, one of them is always spitting like. And I don't know why he's spitting. I assume he's spitting because the pavement is the only thing you'll ever make wet. And he's walking down. And we're walking down the street, and we're about to cross the street, okay? It's like late at night, we're about to cross the street, and I'm like, oh no, I'm about to get like in my first fight here in Denmark. This isn't good. And we're about to cross the street, and just as we're about to cross the street, I see one of them grab his friend and go, whoa, 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 Tobias, the red man. There wasn't a car on the road. There was no witnesses in sight. It was a gangster's paradise. And I don't know how gangster you are if you're obeying basic traffic laws. Listening to hardcore rap about how you're ready to die at any moment. As long as you die by a Tesla running you over, like. But like, I'm not saying that there isn't crime or like, you know, gangs and all this stuff in Denmark. That's not what I'm saying, and there ain't problems, because of course there are. But the only thing that annoys me the most is when I see very rich, affluent people here in Denmark from like Hellerup in the Whiskey Belt area cosplay as lower class people, and they pretend to be gangsters and stuff. Like, you know, they're the kind of people that are playing their sandbox on the metro, and they're playing Kanye West's Gold Digger, and they're really excited to sing the chorus. You know, those kind of people? And I just think it's because, well, they can't listen to gangster rap. They can't relate to drive-bys and shootings and all that kind of stuff. So maybe there is like something that they could relate to. So maybe like a song or a rap that a 31-year-old man could write. So something along the lines of this. DJ, drop the beat. Shout out to everyone from the Ghent off the ghetto. The Ghento! They say we don't know loss, but I know loss. This one goes out to Irma. Growing up in the ghetto, it hit you hard like a wrestler. Mercedes for my birthday that couldn't afford a Tesla. Oh. Now everybody,
Raise your bottles in the air.
raise your bottles in the air. Raise them, yeah.
Pants.
Recycle that shit.
You don't know those struggles. You don't know what I've been through. Only having one summer house with Leo fucking Sinsu. Do you know what it's like trying to be a survivor? Student loans, medical bills?
Me neither.
If I see my imaginary enemies, I'll kill them. My name's all over these streets. Why, Klaus?
My great granddaddy built them.
Flute solo! Welcome to hell, Rob. Yes. Clap the white man rapping, yes. It's not to say that I don't think Danish rap is good. I do listen to Danish rap, I think it's great, and Danish music's great, and I really enjoy it. I love Danish films, I really enjoy everything it has to offer. I'll never forget the first time that I watched a Danish comedy film. My fiancée, she said to me, Jeff, you're a comedian, you should know Danish comedy. So I'm gonna show you a very funny Danish film. I'm gonna show you a Danish film called Blik Når Lygter. right? And I was like, ooh, let's see what Danes find funny. So I sat down, and she got a scene up on YouTube with zero context. And the Danes will probably know the scene. It is the infamous egg-blowing scene. Yes. For those of you who don't know the scene, I'll explain what happens. Basically, the scene opens up, and there is a man. He's blowing into an egg to get the yolk out, because that's something they do for fun. It's like, get a six-pack of beer? No, get us a six-pack of eggs. It's going to be wild. So he's going like this. He's going like that. And there is this nice, happy woman who's going, ah, ha, 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 ha. He can't blow the egg. Ah, he can't do it. He can't blow the egg. I remember watching that going, oh, that's really cute. Like, it's a bit childish, but very wholesome, very nice, right? And this man blowing the egg stops blowing the egg, and he just punches her in the face. And my very progressive feminist girlfriend went, what? Is domestic violence a joke here? If I just came out on stage tonight and just punched one of you in the face, you'd be like, haha, so brave, so bold, so Danish. See, that is what we call a punchline. But like the only time I really felt like I was being pushed away was actually in 2020 here in Denmark. It was during the European Football Championships, the International Football Championship. Yeah, man. And I've lost some of you. But I actually was supporting Denmark the whole way through, because the first time in my life I had a positive connection with football, and I felt like I belonged somewhere and I wanted to join in. And also, I didn't associate with how the English fans were acting. You saw them all like, with the racism and the homophobia, and they looked like they could only speak in vowels. They were just like, I was like, yeah, that's my people. You know what I mean? The kind of people, they were so homophobic, they wouldn't even look at their own penis. Like, they'd be in the urinal just going, no! If I don't look, it's not gay! You wonder why a men's room is all a mess. That's why. No, and they all look the same. They all like bald head, misspelled tattoos, wearing a tight football shirt, A football shirt so tight to simulate the hug from their dad they never got. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I go back to the domestic violence material? Is that too much for some of you? No, I loved supporting Denmark. I felt like at home. I really supported Denmark. I got to learn the Danish national anthem. That was really cool. My favorite part of the Danish national anthem is when Danes go, Bakadal! You guys love that bit, don't you? I think that's the only reason you actually go to sporting events, if I'm honest. Like, I'm pretty sure after you go, Bakadal! Okay, we can go home. Like, you love it. I love the fact that you also sing about having hills when you don't have hills. That's like if you started singing halfway through about unicorn tax, or if Americans sang about freedom. Like, you don't have that there. Like, it doesn't make sense. One of my favorite chants was Fisa Kusa Schmeichler Moor. Yeah, woo, yeah. I have recently translated the lyrics. I believe the lyrics are, cunt, Schmeichel is a wall. Oh, that's very good. Who wrote that? Søren Kierkegaard? That's very good. That's very good. The first time I heard it as well, I heard Schmeichler Moor, as in a mother, and I was like, well, good for him. Like, all of that and a mother, go Mama Schmeichel. Cunt. But anyway, right, so we're watching the England versus Denmark game, okay? I'm with my Danish friends, and to the left of us there is some Swedish people who are also here. I know. That was the most Danish fucking thing that is... You clearly know I'm winding up to a joke and I mention Sweden, like, like, don't mention them. They're the Voldemort of this country. But there were some Swedish people on the table over. And it was fascinating to listen to the difference between Danish and Swedish, because Swedish to me is very sing-songy. Like when I look at it, it's very... It's how I imagine angels sing in heaven. But those angels are deaf. Yeah. and they're singing karaoke. On like a roller coaster, which is explained why they go, "Måste vi nynna Santa Matalina?" Självklart! I was actually recently on my way to the capital city of Sweden to visit some friends, because I used to live there, but I left because it always felt like a stock house, never a stock home. And I was on the train. I was on the train on the way there, and this train conductor lady, she came up to me and she went, "Måste ni in Santa Matalina?" And I was this close from going, "Hey, Macarena." Yeah. But anyway, right, so it's the England versus Denmark game, 2020. England won, right? Yeah. And then this Danish guy on another table, he must have heard me speak English the entire night. Because this absolutely hulking Danish guy stands up. He's like 3 meters tall, with a beard that stretches from here to Finland. And he just comes to me and he just goes, "Hvor kommer du fra?" I don't know! And usually what I do in situations like that is I tell a joke. Like I try and diffuse the tension and try and make him laugh. But that wasn't going to work this time, I could see, because he didn't speak English that well. I don't speak Lego that well. So how can I diffuse the tension? How can I make this guy laugh? But don't you worry, guys. It was all good. Luckily, his girlfriend came over. So I punched her in the face. Still clapping it, that's cool. But you know what, I've learned Danish, I'm learning Danish. I'm still in the ongoing process of learning Danish, you know. Like I get asked a lot by my English friends, "Jeff, you live in Denmark, do you speak Danish?" No, actually, they go, "Jeff, you live in Denmark, do you speak Dutch?" But I went to Danish school. I did all that. And what I also did as well is I put subtitles on. I put subtitles on Netflix to try and like learn slang and expressions and those kind of things. Because I thought that would be a good way to learn the language. No, it isn't. Because I don't know who these people are, but I don't think they know either language or have seen a film before. I was watching Goodfellas, and in it, Joe Pesci's character is a psychopathic mobster, okay? And in it, he is yelling at someone, and he goes, "You are one sick, twisted motherfucker!" Right? And this subtitle heard that, thought about it, and translated it to, "It's skid Carl." Which, for those of you who don't know what that means, that's like going, "Oh, you rapscallion. Ooh, what a scoundrel you are." Doesn't really fit the tone of an Italian mobster. So the first time, like, I've embarrassed myself using undertext language, like, you know, in Danish. Like, I remember my friend, we were all out for drinks, and one of my comedian friends, he was sharing news that he was going to be on this big Danish comedy show. And we were all so excited for him. We were all so happy for him. So my friend was like, "Yeah, fantastic." And he went, "Yeah, sight." And I was like, "Fuck, those are the only two I know." So I was like, right, I'll go into my undertext. Yeah, kanon, man. Which again is the equivalent of just going, "Well, hot diggity dog, like, isn't that swell?" Trying to be cool. I also, in between classes and undertext and subtitles, I also downloaded Duolingo. Yeah, any owl heads in the house? Ooh, yeah, like an owl, cool. That bird is insane, isn't it? That bird is insane. For those of you who don't know what Duolingo is a language learning app that does not give a fuck about your personal life. Because it will message you at 5 a.m. like, what's up, bitch? It's time to learn Danish past tense before I make you past tense, motherfucker. It's teaching me phrases like, I am worthless. And I deserve to die. And do you know what it's labeled these phrases as? Useful phrases you need to know. I'm in a psychologically abusive relationship with a cartoon green owl. Have you also been out with your friends as well when they forget their lesson? Like, when they forget to do their lesson? They're like, oh God, I've got to text him. Like, it's absolutely insane. And when you ask them, like, how long have you been together for? They're like, we're on a 735-day streak. Like, that bird is absolutely fucking mental. Like, I don't understand what's going on there.
What are you doing, Jeff?
Nothing, just messing around.
Oh, yeah. With who?
Who?
Oh, who? Oh, because I'm an owl. That's funny to you.
No, that's not what I meant. I'm just having fun with me and my friends.
It's my friends and I, Jeff. You wouldn't say me is having fun, would you now?
No, you're right.
Of course, me am.
Yeah.
Bunch of loser friends. Look at this guy. Didn't even make it to day 3 Italian. Where you at, dude? All right, go on. Tell your jokes, funny boy. Get on with it.
Well, I think the mood's changed now.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Has the mood changed? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not stupid, Jeff.
What do you mean?
I'm not. You don't understand?
No.
You don't understand? Should
No.
I say it in one of the other 43 languages I speak, maybe?
No.
Should I say it in Spanish? I'm not stupid. Yo no soy estúpido.
No, I've just been really busy with the show.
Oh,
so-
busy.
Yeah.
Busy. That's what you've been. You've been busy with this.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
telling Danes, oh, you're so weird, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I can say ishoi funny. Is that it? What?
Yeah.
All right, Conrad. Let's make some jokes. Listen up, baby. You should not be doing this. You should be focusing on my app. You should be learning everyday phrases that everyone needs. You know, like, oh, the shrimp is trapped in the closet. Or, my daddy loves my underwear. You're gonna need that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Go on, tell your jokes.
Oh,
By the way, you missed the word of the day.
yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is?
No.
It's pathetic.
What's the Danish word for pathetic?
It's Jefferson Bond. You're pathetic, Jeff. You cannot get out of your own way. Your ego is getting in the way. That's actually the Danish sentence for the day.
What?
Jeff kan ikke komme sig over hans eget ego.
Did you say hans eget ego? Don't you mean sit eget ego? Use it when something belongs to something and I don't belong to you anymore.
Well, it seems like the student have become the master. I'll see you tomorrow, Jefferson.
No. We both know you won't. You know, like that? But a big reason I want to learn Danish. A big reason I want to learn Danish is because my fiancée is Danish and I want to speak the language she speaks. I want to be able to communicate with her in the language she speaks. And she speaks incredible English. Like, she speaks better English than my English friends. Like, if I was to ask my English friends, do you know what an idiom is? They'd be like, shut up, mate, you're an idiom. I love that joke because I like looking around the room and people going, idiom, I know what that is. No, she speaks better English than my English friends, you know. Sometimes we've argued in Danish. We don't do that anymore. Because one time we were arguing in Danish, and then in the middle she switched to English. And she went, Jeff, please speak English. I'm not going to argue with a 6-year-old. Jeg ikke en 6 år barn. Du er en 6 år, but I'll do the laundry. I think it's really interesting as well, though, in English, when we say that you got an argument, you say you had a fight. Like, I had a fight with my girlfriend, I had a fight with my husband. I was like, no, you didn't. You had an argument, you had a discussion. Because when I think of the word fight, I think of, like, boxing and MMA and those kind of sports. But don't get me wrong, I would love it if couples arguing became a sport. Guys, could you imagine if you turned on TV Talk Sport and you could watch professional couples argue? And don't say you wouldn't watch it either, because we've all been on the bus and paused our music to listen to a couple argue on the bus. It'd be my favorite sport ever. We could get like merchandise going as well. That'd be really cool. It was like, get your shit together, Gary, you know. Cuddling doesn't always have to equal sex, like, you know. You get like football chants as well about the argument as it's happening, like in real time. You know, it's just like, you know, like in Denmark where they go na 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 na. But we could do it about the argument as it's happening. It'd be like, you're being a liar. You said you'd be home at 5. You're being a liar. She said, darling, that sounds fine. You're being a liar. You came in at 2:09. You're being a liar. Why? You were at the bar, 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 bar. You were at the bar, 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 bar. You get like boxing commentators to like commentate on the argument as that's happening as well, to get some excitement going about it's happening. So it'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the living room arena. This fight brought to you by your childhood. In this corner, in the unwashed bathrobe, we have Jefferson. Jefferson has done absolutely no training for this fight. In fact, he doesn't even know it's about to happen. That's right, John. He's so blissfully unaware that he forgot to rinse the plates before putting them in the dishwasher last night. Ooh, that kind of sloppy behavior both on and off the plate is gonna cost him. And in the opposing corner, coming in from a full 9-to-5 workday, we have Jessica. Jessica has been training for this fight for the past 27 days. With our world-class coaching team, the girls from work. But you know, like, sometimes she makes mistakes in English, and that makes me feel better. You know, it makes me feel better about my own Danish, you know, makes me, you know, realize that, you know, everyone makes mistakes. I remember once we were in London, and I was going to introduce her to one of my best friends from London. And I didn't realize this, but apparently, with people with English as their second language, what will happen is the longer you listen to an accent, you'll slowly start to copy it and replicate it. And so after the whole week, we finally met my friend, and I was like, well, Gordon, this is Jessica. Jessica, this is Gordon. And Gordon went, Jessica, it's a pleasure to meet you. Jeff's told me all about you. And my very intelligent, fully fluent in English girlfriend went, oh, hello, Gordon. I just want to say that your play was absolutely amazing. And out of nowhere came this Oliver Twist accent from hell. And my favorite part of this story was the fear in her eyes as she realized she had to commit to this crazy character for the next 20 minutes. And my friend Gordon is English. He wasn't fooled. He wasn't like, oh, you didn't tell me she was from East London. What Guy Ritchie film are you from? Like, so she's like, oh, Jefferson has told me so much about you. Like, she started switching accents at one point. Like, it was a mixture between French and South African. She's told me all the stories about your university days. To tell me, like, no one knew where she was from, least of all herself. And she was She's like, oh, there's a... So she spoke like that for like a good 10 minutes, and it was amazing. And then she tried to wrap it up, and she was like, anyway, good on. Me and Jeff, we have a dinner reservations. So we must be going. And I was like, no, we don't. She was like, yes, we do. I was like, no, I've cancelled. This is everything. This is better than his theatre show. In fact, honey, why don't we go for dinner with Gordon? You've got so much to talk about. But there's benefits to speaking Danish outside of Denmark as well. Like to pretending to be Danish outside of Denmark. People like you. That's nice. And I remember like what we get a lot in London as well is we get a lot of charity workers in London. The people that jump out at you and they go, hi, can I have a moment of your time? And you never have any time to give them, do you? You're the busiest you've ever been in your life when they ask you that. They're like, hi, can I have a moment of your time? You're like, no, I'm very busy. Doing what? Getting chicken nuggets. But I now have a foolproof way of getting out of that situation now. So when people jump out and they go, hi, can I have a moment of your time? I go, undskyld. Jeg kan ikke forstå engelsk. And I walk past them like this, and they freak out every time. They're like, I don't know what that was. That was Klingon or Polish or both. That was terrifying. So the day after, Jessica and I were walking down the street, and this young woman, charity worker, she jumps out, she's like, hi, can I have a moment of your time? And I'm like, undskyld, jeg kan ikke forstå engelsk. And I walk past her like this, and she goes, nej, kommer du fra Danmark? Uh-oh. Because here's the thing, like I can speak Danish, nowhere near good enough to convince a Danish person that I am Danish. So I was like, right, I need to convince her I'm Danish by speaking as little Danish words as possible. So she was like, oh, did you come from Denmark? And I went, du store kineser. Det var pokkers. Skat, hun kommer fra Denmark. Skal vi snakke lidt? And she went, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And she walked off. I was like, fair play, honey, fair play. I deserve that. Now, I'll do the rest in English. She did the rest in Danish. She spoke to me in Danish. I'll do the rest in English. She was like, do you come from Denmark? I was like, right, I'm going to not say any words now. So I was like... Because my Danish friends, what the fuck is that? Continue to do it. It freaks us foreigners out to no end. Like the first time I heard it, I was at work and I went, Linda, can you please get those reports to me by Friday? Is that okay? And she went, I was like, what the fuck's going on? Is there something behind me? Are you allergic to work? Speak to me, Linda. So she goes, where in Denmark do you come from? And I was like, pick a made-up place that no one would want to live in. And I was like, South Jylland. And she went, no. My parents are from South Jylland, and I know nothing about South Jylland. So I panicked, and I went, no, man, but I moved when I was a baby to Aalborg. She went, I am studying at Aalborg University. Lady, stop trying to connect with me. So she's really excited. She clearly hasn't spoken Danish in a long time, so she starts speaking really fast, and I'm just going, I'm getting like lightheaded. Like I'm starting to see stars, Danish people in the room, can I ask you something? What happens if we got all of you guys in a room and you agreed with each other? Like, hopefully at the end of tonight, it was like, oh, I had a good time. Did you have a good time? Yeah, I had a good time. Did you have a good time? Yeah. And you just suck all the oxygen out of the room. So you pass out. And you wake up a few hours later like, no, vad sker der? Did we all just pass out collectively as a unit? Yes, I did. Did you pass out? Yes, I passed out. Did you pass out? Oh, no, not again! So I'm speaking to this charity worker lady, right? And the more Danish I speak to her, her face goes from this to this to this. For the first time in our conversation, she speaks English. And she goes, you're not from Denmark, are you? No. Right. Where you from? Here. Right. Why were you speaking Danish? So I didn't have to talk to you. And then she said, and I'm quoting here, all right, let me get this straight then. You learnt Danish so that you didn't have to give money to starving children in Africa. Oh, well, when you put it like that. She's like, well, are you going to give money to charity? And I was like, But I realize, man, like, the longer I live here is like, you know, this has become my home. Like, I love living here. Like, you know, there I was in the UK, pretending to be Danish in a place that I grew up and not belonging to either place at the same time. But I realized, like, you know, there's the people, it's my fiancé, my friends, and if there's anything I do miss from back home, I miss my family and my friends, and I miss my mum. Like, my mum is a 1 meter tall, crazy Irish lady. She's only recently just discovered what lol means. Yeah. For years, she thought it meant lots of love. Yeah. Isn't that cute? It is cute until you realize that my mum has texted quite a lot of grieving widows. Now, don't you worry about it, guys. We've had a lovely evening. I'm not going to stand up on this stage and read out one of those text messages. Because I've memorized it. This is a genuine text message that my mum sent to her coworker, Susan. Dear Susan, we're all so broken up about John. If there's absolutely anything we can do, please let us know. Thinking of you, lol. She texted me a few weeks ago, said, Jeff, you need to speak to your brother. He's just lost his job, lol. I was like, that is pretty funny, actually, Mum. That's very funny. But I don't know why she does it. I don't know why she keeps trying to use slang she does not understand. Like, one time, it was just me and her alone in the living room, and she turned to me and she was like, I tell you what, son, it's just you and I tonight. How about we grab ourselves a bottle of red wine and we have a Netflix and chill? And you know when you're in the swimming pool? Yeah, and you have something that floats, and you hold it under the water, don't you? And you let it go, and it shoots up real fast, doesn't it? It goes like, pew, yeah. When she said that, that was my penis into me when she said that. I went, oh God! Like, I had a negative erection. I had a negative, a noner, if you will, a negative boner. I technically had sex with myself, technically. So now when I turn on Netflix, I can't help but hear Freudian notes. Like, I don't hear ba-boom, I hear your mum every single time. And that's not great. But my favorite thing is when they come to visit, of course, because I get to see them, but also because I get to watch my mum interact with foreign people. Because my mum has no idea how to interact with foreign people. She is the person that you've probably met on the high street that comes up to you and thinks volume equals understanding and gestures insanely. So she's the kind of person that comes up to you and goes, hello! Do you know where the train station is? And you're like, yes, lady, this is my second language. It's over there. Please, you're scaring the children. But my mum doesn't realize she's miming everything. She doesn't know she's miming everything like a sign language interpreter on cocaine. She has no idea she's doing it. My favorite story about this is one time when they came to visit me, we went out for dinner, and there we are at dinner, and this poor waiter, he comes over, and he goes, hi guys, are you ready to order? And my mum goes, yes, but what would you recommend? The burger, the lobster, or the salmon? And this waiter looks at me and my dad like, what is your mum doing? And we look back defiantly like, her best, sir. My mum's doing her best. And I don't know what it was about this waiter. He must have thought my mum was deaf. Or like hard of hearing. Because the first time ever, he gave it straight back. And he went, well, what I would recommend is the salmon. And my mum went, I'm not an idiot. Just before I go, I want to thank you all very much for coming. And thanks, Grandad. And if I can be sincere for a moment, I'd like to talk to you. Well, actually, there's only one real way that I can stand up on the stage and be sincere without it being self-indulgent and cringy. So...
If 12-year-old me that got punched in the balls for wanting to make people laugh could see me now, he'd be thrilled. Either that or 170 people are gonna punch me in the testicles. And if you're struggling with finding a place to fit in, I hope tonight you felt like you belong somewhere, even for a little while.
Thanks, I've been Jefferson Bond. You've been wonderful. Take care. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.